Well, as we watch the clouds push in from the south on this last day of the week, we sent Shelby out there to take a look at some of those conditions while she's watching two-a-days, and she definitely cooked alive. And that's why we were looking at the heat advisories and excessive heat warnings continuing to be extended throughout the weekend. But something more interesting while we take a look at some of these temperatures outside. Right now, everybody hanging out in the 90-degree mark. And when we talk about some areas like Sterling City, they've already dropped 20 degrees in only a couple hours between earlier and now about 5 hours. And that's 10 degrees here in San Angelo. That's pretty significant when you're talking about how much overnight cooling really takes an effect while we're dealing with this heat dome. Day 25 now, and we could be touching into those 30-day mark here by the beginning of next week. Well, when we look at the upper level pattern, we know characteristically that between high pressure there is low pressure, and of course we see it off the east coast, and then we see it again off the west coast, which would mean that the high pressure sitting over us is that result. And as we watch the weather pattern push through into the next week, this development off the west coast of Baja California could be potentially developing into a hurricane. And when we talk about what would be strong enough to maybe weaken the heat dome, well, the opposite would be about a hurricane when we're talking about the intensity or something that would mirror such an image. So when we see it kind of be sucked up into the heat dome and get pulled along that upper level pattern, we could start seeing a lot more precipitation on top of what some of the nation is already seeing. You can see that low pressure really staying off the east coast where they got hammered all earlier last week. Then those storms exploding across Florida, of course attacking Iowa, and then the Rocky Mountain Front Range relentlessly being pounded by thunderstorms. And then of course you're watching it push off to the west across the Sierra Madres, letting us know that there's a lot more significant activity from the east. That's giving us a better idea of this heat dome as it's pulling all that moisture across Mexico. You're watching it dump right off the west coast there near Manzanillo, Mexico. And as we look at that high pressure and we understand that's why it's so intense, that's the last low pressure system, that would mean this is why this high pressure is not going anywhere and why we're seeing such strong southerly flow coming in from the Gulf. That's where we're seeing those afternoon clouds. And when we get an idea of what conditions are going to be like, you continue to see all that moisture being pulled off the west coast of Mexico. And then as you see that southerly flow, by Sunday, Saturday night, we can see our first potential for some rain showers to push through the Concho Valley. But then right back by Monday, that heat dome is going to take back over, and then we're going to see those conditions tonight drop down into those upper 70s. And as we make our way towards the week, we're going to see them cool off even warmer than where they have been, sitting about the 80 degrees. And tomorrow, we're going to make another run at those triple digits, adding day 27 to the heat dome, where we could touch up into 107 degrees. But by the evening, we could see some thunderstorms push through the area very quickly, if not just a couple clouds. And that's really going to increase the humidity as we make our way into Sunday. And then by the time we start that second week of August already, we're going to send Shelby and Keon back out there into that sweltering heat to get some more football footage for you, while those lows continue to warm up too. And by the time we get towards that weekend, we're going to potentially see a lot of those 100 and teen temperatures. Stay tuned, we'll have more after the break. You're watching KSAN News at 10.